Life is not a 100-meter race which we must complete in 9.58 seconds. It is rather a marathon which requires good training and perseverance. But are we preparing our children for this long marathon? The cost of modernization is taking a toll on good parenting. In a daily routine, imbibing good values among our children has become the least of our priorities. Competition and herd mentality might be creating a generation which may later regret. Welcome to the Matrix. Before I open this discussion, I wish to show you this video from Kashmir, where a politician is lamenting growing drug addiction among children.
सबसे बड़ी परेशानी जो इस वक्त माँ बाप को है वह बच्चों की यही है कि बच्चे ड्रग्स में मुब्तला हो रहे हैं। बंदूक में हमारे बच्चे मुब्तला हुए, इट वाज कन्फाइंड टू बॉयज़, लेकिन इसमें बदकिस्मती से हमारी बेटियां भी हैं और बेटे भी हैं। देखिए, हम सब पे एक ड्यूटी है। जो हमारे घरों में एक मॉरल साइंस जिसे कहते हैं, वो मॉरल साइंस मिसिंग है। आज हम बच्चे को अंग्रेज़ी पढ़ाना शायद पैदा होने के साथ साथ ही शुरू करते हैं, लेकिन उसको कहीं पे भी हम मॉरल्स के बारे में बोलते नहीं हैं। चाहे मुसलमान हो, चाहे हिंदू हो, सिख हो, क्रिश्चियन हो, हर एक मज़हब में मॉरल साइंस था ही था।
Modernity has changed our lives. We live in nuclear families, and this phenomena has taken our children away from good sanskars or tarbiyat, as we say in Urdu. While the Western world has realized the disadvantages of the modern world, we Indians, who should be proud of our civilization, are rather forgetting our sanskars. Just a generation ago, spending time together and learning moral values was considered normal and healthy. But today, it is considered highly unproductive. Every member of the family is expected to utilize their time well, engaged in some activity or the other. There is no time for moral science. Parents are juggling between jobs and household work. Now I'll introduce my guest, Zahra Naqvi, who's a well-known author, a journalist and author. We also have with us Shuchi Goyal, who's a child psychologist and who's been working in this field for a long time. Let me ask you first, Zahra, what are we giving good sanskars or tarbiyat to children these days?
Well, that would be a very generalized question whether we are giving or we are not. I think that depends from a family, from one family setup to another, whether people are actually considering it worthwhile to spend time with their children, sit with them, talk about what is important, not just about the marks that they're getting, not just about the kind of students that they are, not just about their future careers, but also about how to be good human beings. So I would not say whether it is happening or not happening today. I would say it depends from family to family as to how many people are actually laying emphasis on teaching their children to be better human beings and giving importance to that.
Right. Shuchi, I would like to ask you that automation of lives has not led to automation of emotions. Children on-screen time has increased and created a new virtual reality for them. Do you think it is good for their emotional growth?
Right now, the children are living in a very different age and era. As you said, the automation of life has become everything is, there is a way to do things. You get up in the morning, you get ready, you go for your schooling or whatever you are planning for the day, but emotional regulation is something that is highly missing in children as well as our adults of today, young adults, if we talk about the young corporate world that we have, because there has been a lack of socialization. And when I say socialization, it's not just about talking to your parents or having a supportive environment, peer group, or extended family, as we say in the nuclear family system. So definitely with increased screen time, with increased modernization in the sense of moving towards objects and things from people, it has created a vacuum where that emotional growth and regularization is becoming more and more difficult for the children.
Right. Sarah, barring a few schools or selected madrasas, you see the moral sciences out of syllabus. Like when we were children, We had a special moral science class where either children who want to learn moral science can learn moral science, or the Christian students used to go out to chapel
Yes,
and
yes.
do theology and learn about Bible. But these days, you don't have moral science happening, nor do the parents have time to interact with children. Of course, we are living in nuclear families. How do you see this phenomenon panning out for the children?
I think that it's very important to bring back those moral science or value education lessons in school. I think it's also, instead of just having a separate subject of moral science or value education, even the things that we're studying in mathematics or science or social sciences can be given some value-based perspectives. So I've taught for a brief time, for about a year, I taught as a visiting faculty at Jamia Hamdard, and I was teaching journalism and mass communication. But even while I was teaching journalism, I used to sort of put that in, contextualize that with how we are supposed to lead life. So when we talk about journalism, I used to talk to them about the ethics of journalism, but not just the ethics of journalism, the ethics of being a good citizen, the ethics of being a good citizen of the world. So it's not that moral values is something, or they are something which is a separate subject in itself. While we're teaching our kids about the world, about the natural world, or about interactions with other people, there is so much knowledge that is needed to be given to the children, and it can be done in a very holistic manner. So it's very important to do that.
Shuchi, I would like to ask you that the postmodern world has led to materialism, and it is also, we see this among children also. Even they have been affected by this. They want new gadgets and they want more and more of it. They want PS3s and PS4s and whatnot. What are your views on this? Children becoming more and more materialistic, and how should parents approach this?
See, when we talk about materialism for children especially, we cannot just go ahead and blame our kids for that. There is a very major role that parenting has to play when we see a child's inclination towards any objects, be it a gadget. Yes, kids are addicted to mobile phones. Screen time is very high. Everything is on the television, and thanks to COVID, the dependency even increased for educational purposes and everything. While I agree, it is not possible to cut yourself off the modern era of using gadgets and things like that. It is extremely possible for the parents to sort of balance it out, right? Have the right approach to parenting. It's seen majorly because parents are also struggling. We are living in nuclear families. They also have to manage 2 jobs for some parents and household work with no help, no elderly people in the house to sort of guide them or make them feel supported in their jobs, right? So parents also try to, sometimes find an easy way out, not out of, ill intentions toward their children, but they have no other means. They have no more time. They are already struggling to fit in everything in those 24 hours of the day. So the major challenge is the kind of parenting, the way we tell children, okay, if you do this, if you get this many marks, you will get the latest iPhone. So this is not an approach that we should be having towards task completion or doing anything in life. So those things needs to be thought through. It is a challenging thing to do. Being a new mother, I understand it gets to you when you want to do the right thing, but you sometimes fail, and that's fine. That's okay. You have to give yourself space, but the moment you realize, sit back, try to think for 2 minutes, see what could have been done instead of what was done, right? So if parenting plays a major role on when we talk about child's dependency on any gadgets or modern world devices.
Right. Shuchi, what is happening is, also the students are, like I said, they're living in a virtual world, on iPads or their mobile phones. They take away mobile phones from their parents and they start playing and watching, whatnot. But tell me that there is also, I see a tendency among children that they're getting away from nature because they're living in this virtual world. Is there a solution to this? appreciating nature, seeing things around. I don't see the children interested in it anymore.
Right. So if you remember when we were kids, for us the playtime used to be once you come back from school. In summers, take an afternoon nap, which is important, which used to be very important
Yes.
for us. Go out in the ground and play, which is not happening anymore. Or it is happening. I will not say that it is not happening at all, but it has become more and more difficult due to n number of factors. Maybe security reasons, maybe there's nobody to take care of the child. Maybe the worst thing that I realized today is we do not know our neighbors anymore. We do
Yes.
not trust people around us. So yes, children are losing interest in the nature and the world around because they are not being rightly exposed to the nature. It's only when you have an outdoor birthday party that you go out, or you're having a pool party, or you're going out with the parents to an open terrace cafe
Yeah.
in the cities, right? We are talking of modern cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai maybe. If we go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, the scenario there is also changing drastically because what we see in media or on the screens is the representation of these big cities. And we want to move towards it. Like Mumbai or Delhi is moving towards what's happening in the UK or US, but a Kanpur or a Lucknow child is moving towards what's happening in Mumbai or Delhi. So it's a chain reaction that's happening. So it's a herd mentality. Parents are also, we used to have a concept of trophy wives. Now we have a concept of trophy children. My child goes to swimming class, tennis class, golf class, this class, that class. When are we giving the child the space and time to sit back, relax, observe whatever the child wants to observe? Not just nature, not just leaves and trees and water.
Right.
Anything that child wants to do. We are not giving them any space to use their brains to identify their skills or nurture it at all.
Sure. So two things come out of what you've said. One is that obviously there is mistrust. People living in nuclear families, you don't know your neighbors, and actually parents cannot be blamed for that. The environment is such of paranoia. Not trusting each other, unfortunately. How do we improve that? How do we go around that?
So I really like one of the things, like I come from a very small town, like a very, very small town in UP, and as a child I always realized, like I know it's not possible in today's world. We never used to call our uncles and the neighbors uncles and aunties. There was always like, ye chacha hai, ye tauji hai, ye fala hai, ye fala hai. Obviously those things are not possible, but if we can create a simple structure, let's say 5 houses left to me, 5 houses right to me, I'll try to maybe know who lives there, try to interact, just greet them. When you come out of your house, you catch a glimpse of this person. So somewhere that connection or communication will start to build up.
Right.
There are RWAs, residence welfare associations.
Sure.
There are other means. There are a lot of parks, and kids go there, unfortunately with the ayah or a nanny or somebody, but at least sometimes the parents are there. Try to interact.
Yeah.
It can be alarming for the other parent. It can backfire sometimes because not everybody is open to that kind of interaction, considering the situation in nowadays.
Right.
But we do not know until and unless we try.
Right. Right.
We have to have that openness to approach people, or if somebody is trying to approach you, have a conversation to
Right.
start building those
Sure.
relationships.
So you should work on building that trust around you.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of your answer, I'd like to ask you, Zehra. We pack a schedule of children, with so many things. They schedule, they go, they play badminton, they go for swimming, they do this, they do their maths class, and they do their, something else. So the entire day is, booked. So we have booked them, and we have programmed them, and so they have to abide by it. Do you think this is the right approach? That keeping them busy will make them a good human being?
So I would like to disagree slightly with what Shruti just said, and I think that of course, one should not be forcing the child to take part in any activity that the child does not enjoy. But whether it is badminton or whether it is swimming or whether it is horse riding, as my son loves horse riding. So these activities should come from within the child, activities that the child himself or herself enjoys. And when their day is packed with these activities, not because the parents are pushing them to do it, but because the child is looking forward to doing them, then it takes the child away from gadgets. It takes the child away from the virtual world. And the child also builds connections in those activities. When the child is going for swimming or badminton or any other games, then the child is also forming friendships. The child is learning to develop team spirit while playing. The child is learning to meet people from different backgrounds and to interact with them. So it should not be competition oriented, like what you said, no, trophy children. It shouldn't be like something that you boast about to the world, but it should be based on what the child himself or herself likes and enjoys. It should be an activity that is actually helping in the child's development and taking the child away from this culture of PS3 and mobile games and all of that. It's taking the child into a world of physical activity and bonding with real people rather than just virtual people. So in that sense, I think it can be healthy depending on where your motivation is coming from.
Sure. Now, Shuchi, I'd like to ask you the parents. I heard one doctor talking about this, that the parents are stressed out in today's routine and sometimes even depressed due to the pressures of the modern world. Do you think when they come back with such a inclination or mood, it has an impact on children, and what should be the right attitude of parents to deal with this kind of situation?
Excellent. So children are the best observers in the world is one thing that I have realized in my career of over 12 years. If you're anxious, if you're angry, if you're upset, they can pick it up like that. And when I say children, I'm not talking about a 7-year-old or a 8-year-old. I'm talking as young as a few months old. Children are excellent at understanding emotions, especially when it comes to their personal space, which is their parents, the first interaction that they are having. And that is the building block that we have to develop. So, rightly said, parents come with a lot of pressure, be it work, be it the competition around, be it what the other child is having and doing and what my child is having and doing. There are those things, but we as parents or parents in general have to understand that if it is bothering you a lot, it's okay to get help. If your children are of that age where you think you can talk to them, you can discuss with them, you can have an open conversation, you can make them a part of your, emotional dilemmas. That can be a brilliant means. And when I say if they're of the age to understand, there are different kind of parents. Maybe there is a mother who can make a 3-month-old understand a 3-year-old what depression is, but there are parents who don't understand, which is fine. You feel confident that yes, I will be able to channelize the emotion, I'll be able to rightly put out this information. I think it is a brilliant mean rather than putting it off. Make it a habit to express emotion, to normalize feeling angry, to normalize feeling sad or any other thing for that matter. Because I don't know when it happened and how it developed, but we are all supposed to be happy. But that's not how humans work. We have to have all the emotions. And we have to let the children know that it's okay to feel whatever you are feeling at that moment of time.
Okay, now Sarah, I would like to ask you that in today's world, violence and aggression is the new normal. You see it around you. Now this manifests in real life and even on digital screens around us. You watch, even cartoons if you watch,
so much,
there's a lot of violence and aggression. How do we protect our children from this problem?
So one very important thing is to monitor the content that they're watching. It has to be age appropriate. It has to be age appropriate, and it has to be something that you've watched first. You sit and watch with them to see whether it's actually giving them something good or something healthy. And there are cartoons which are talking about healthy things, and they're talking about the natural world, and they have this kind of some moral lessons in them for the children. There are such cartoons as well, and so the parents would have to be more involved in the child's life. And I don't necessarily think that the joint family is the only way to bring up children in the best way. I think that the nuclear family can also work excellently, provided that there is a synergy between the father and the mother. So one of the parents has to take it slow, and it does not have to be the same parent every time. Sometimes the mother can take it slow, sometimes the father can take it slow, career-wise. And they can allocate more time to looking after the child and little less to their careers. So maybe when the child is really small, say the first 3-4 years of their life, then the mother can take it slow, because at that point of time the child needs the mother more. And afterwards the father can sort of take a step back, and the mother can pursue her career at a faster speed. So it can be balanced out if there is a synergy between both parents, and both of them consider parenting as their responsibility and as an important responsibility, and they have an involvement in the child's life.
Right.
So instead of just putting all of these prohibitions, it's important to sit with the child, to monitor what they're watching, to be able to answer their questions, and to make them feel safe that they can come to you with their questions, no matter how awkward those questions might be.
Right. 2 points you've made, Shuchi, which I want to take them to you. One is that, she's saying that you need to monitor what they are watching, but it really becomes difficult for parents to monitor the children all the time. And if you do that, they also feel that that
You don't trust them.
you don't trust them. That's one point. The second point is, of course, like she's talking about synergy parents. It really doesn't work out for everybody. It may work out for a couple, but it is not same for another couple. So these 2 points, if you can tell us more about this, being how to deal with these two situations.
So first and foremost, if we look at monitoring the content, and I assume that we are talking about the content on cartoons that we're watching. So maybe it's not possible for the parent to watch each and every episode that the child will go through, because few episodes will look fine and other will not. And there will be things like that. Whether the parent have that kind of time or not, it's not always possible. So yes, if we can do a basic research, understand, okay, this is fine, this is not, I know that it is not a foolproof research, and the people who are creating that content will also be putting in the material out saying that it is all right, right?
Yeah.
But at least trust your instincts, trust your research, and then allow the children whatever they are watching. Secondly, it's not just the responsibility of a parent and a family to monitor what the child is watching. Somewhere or the other, the people who are creating this content, the media, the children cartoon networks and things like that, they have a major role to play. They have to understand what they are exposing young children towards, right? Raising a child is not a one-man's job.
Sure.
It's a holistic responsibility as a society that we have. So if they are not regulating the content, if they are not abiding by the guidelines, the onus lies on them as well. The parents cannot be blamed, the children cannot be blamed. So we have to take that responsibility somewhere, that yes, this person has, or this organization has created this content. So a big part is on them as well, which we never talk about.
Right.
And the second thing that we were talking about is the synergies between parents. Again, living in the fast-paced world, living in a world where, money has a major role to play. Money is not the most important thing, but without money you cannot survive. It's the basic need.
Yes.
And it depends from family to family, as we rightly said. It might be possible in one household for, a parent to take it slow or not. It depends. It is highly debatable what is possible, what is not. So we have to understand that what are the other means, what kind of coordination can happen. Okay, maybe the division of work, because the burden on the parents is very, very high, not in terms of just parenting, otherwise also creating the means at home, the food, taking the child to school, taking the child to hospital, taking the child to any classes or parties or anything. So the major thing that I feel is important is the coordination and taking a joint responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
We also don't have to forget that there are a lot of single parents in today's generation.
True. Very
Right?
important.
And the burden is very, very high there, be it financial, be it emotional,
Yes.
be it when it comes to, spending time. We have to create a way and a schedule which is, compatible with this specific family. There's no one solution fits all.
True.
We have to consider if it is a single mother who's working, who's also taking care of 2 or 3 children, what is the kind of support as a society we can provide if it's just her and her kids, if it's just a father and his 2 or 3 kids, what kind of support can be provided through the society. There are
Yes.
in today's time a lot
Very
of
important.
communities,
True.
like single parent communities or homosexual parent communities and things like that. We have to find those means, we have to make it more and more available, considering the divorce rates in our country, the kind of things that are changing, because these are all a part of our life now. So we have to consider all these things before finding a solution.
Sure. So now, Zara, I would like to ask you that children spend most of the time in school, and most of the day goes in school, and when they're most active and most absorbing. Now, what role can teachers and schools provide in giving children good sanskars and tarbiyat? Do you think they have a big role to play?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Children.
are they doing their role?
I think they are, but they also need to be, teachers also need some sort of training to be able to handle this kind of imparting of knowledge to children, and also to be able to talk about subjects that are important in this world, in the modern world, to talk about things like mental health, and to sort of talk about issues without stigmatizing them, because children look up to their teachers far more than they look up to their parents. If there is a disparity between what the mother is saying and what the teacher is saying, the child will give preference to what the teacher
Take
is
them
saying.
more seriously.
Yes. So the teachers have a really huge role to play in this, and I think that there is a need for building greater awareness and sensitization of teachers as well, as to how they can impart these moral values, and how they can sort of also talk about the world as it exists right now. I often sort of feel hesitant in using the word tarbiyat or sanskar, because it evokes a very traditional view of the world. I talk about how we can bring this tarbiyat and make it work for the modern world. So I do not believe in dissing modernity and talking about how the world is declining and moral values are declining. I think that moral values have always been ambiguous at all times in all eras, and it has been the task of all generations to ensure that they are not allowed to decline.
Right.
I don't endorse the idea that there is a constant decline. I don't think so. But I think that the traditional values can be sort of inculcated in a way that they allow children to view the modern world in a more wholesome way, and to exist in a more wholesome way in this world.
Right. Your take on this as an expert, Suchi?
So I often heard the word modernization, and it is immediately attached to negativity, which I do not abide by, which I do not agree to. Modern means moving forward. For me, modern means utilizing more and more means in smarter manners, to make lives easier, to make lives whole, to make life more regulated. But considering at least the city I'm living in, I have in the last few years felt that there has been a lack. There has been a lack of support, I would say, not in sanskars or tarbiyat, but lack of support in terms of humans around us, like be it parents. There's an absence, there is a vacuum for both. Like for me today, there might be times when I'm feeling extremely lonely, no matter how many friends I have, no matter how close-knit family I come from. There is an absence from people around us, and that is affecting us more than the tarbiyat or anything, because in isolation, in loneliness, in feeling of those extreme emotions, it becomes really difficult for any person, be it a child or an adult, to think through a situation in a right manner. And when there is a lack of guidance and support at a younger age, people tend to become more, suspicious of others, mistrusting of others. And that is something that we need to tackle in today's world. Maybe we need to involve our teachers more in our kids' life. Maybe we need to involve the caretakers we have at home, the maids and ayahs and the drivers that we have, in the kind of conversations they are providing. So as I keep on saying, always for mental health, it's not just the families or a 4 people responsibility. It's a holistic situation that we are dealing with in today's world, and that needs to be dealt with in a very, very delicate manner,
Right.
to make it right.
So as an expert, what are the tips you'd like to give to parents?
When we talk of tips, I'm not very sure, but one thing that I feel really works wonder is when you provide open environment at home, where child feels that they can come and talk to you about anything and everything. What they're feeling, what happened on the road, what happened in the school, what happened in the house, or the conversation you if let's say the child is having a problem with you, the way you dealt with the child at one particular time. If you provide the child in space to come and talk to you about it without giving them any judgment, without giving them a backlash for it, it can do wonders for your child. So try and give your child the space. Second very important thing that I feel works brilliantly is when you consider a child an individual of themselves.
Right.
It's
Right,
not just
very
a child, usko nahi pata hai, he doesn't know, she doesn't know, she's too young to understand. Listen to them, they are an individual, they are a whole human. Give them the same respect, hear them out. You can always make them understand, but never say the word, he's just a child, he doesn't know. Don't dismiss them.
Right. No, I was just having a conversation with Zehra before you came in. And she was telling me that children have become very smart and they start calling out their parents and they become very woke.
Yes.
They're woke. And then they also tell their parents, look, you're being racist, you're being like this. So they are at a different level. And yet, you get this feeling that no, we need to give them sanskars, we need to give them, right, tarbiyat. So their sanskars or tarbiyat, or maybe definition is changing at some level.
Also, I think that is our tarbiyat,
Right.
We always thought, because my parent is saying so, this is
Yes.
right. So it is a generational understanding. But
Right.
now it's changing and it is becoming for young parents to understand that. How can you, cross-question my belief system? How can you... It is not racist. I was not thinking that way. But it is.
Yeah.
A racist comment is a racist comment. So we as parent, our tarbiyat also has to, slightly have to become flexible. We have to give ourselves also that space to digest that it's okay if your child said so. Maybe he or she is right.
Right.
I think that-
It's our tarbiyat. If very strongly we have believed that नहीं पापा ने बोला है तो फिर कोई चाचा ताऊ बोल दे मेरे पापा ने बोला है तो ठीक बोला है.
Yeah, you want to say
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, as I completely agree with you. I feel that in our generation, less so in our generation and more so in our parents' generation,
Yes.
the idea was that children respect parents.
Listen to parents.
Yeah, listen to, and I'm saying that respect and obedience was only for parents.
Right.
But I feel that for our generation, respect is a two-way street.
Yes. Sure.
Like you said, that the child is also an individual. So it's also important to extend not just love, but also respect to the child as to what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And it has to be like a two-way listening process, not just a one-way communication or listening.
Right.
And obedience has not to be confused with respect. It has
Absolutely.
nothing to do with
Absolutely.
respect.
Absolutely.
I might respect you with all my heart and brains, but I may not agree to what your belief system is.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So the world around us is changing. Our emotional needs, especially a child's emotional needs, remain inherently the same. Eye contact and affection can never be replaced. The aim of technology is to bring people close to each other. Emotional connections are becoming few and far between in the new digital world. I now leave you with this thought: should our emphasis be on nurturing children to become good human beings, or those who are only good at competitions. Do read our news portal awazthevoice.in. Type www.awazthevoice.in, and please don't forget to subscribe to our social media handles. I now wish to thank both my guests. Thank you for being in our studios today for this wonderful conversation. We'll be back soon with another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye from the Matrix team.